Hello, everyone! Today I will tell you a story about a character who has a very interesting and mysterious secret that no one knows. This character is different from the others in that he is one of the most secretive characters in Avatar world. After all, you can only find it in one place, at the train station. Few people know the name of this character, but now I'll tell you. His name is Dustin, but due to the fact that very few people in Avatar world know his real name, people started calling him Steel Statue. They called him that because when people approached him, he froze, becoming motionless like a statue. Every day, when the trains passed, this mysterious character stood in the same place, motionlessly looking at the approaching cars. His presence attracted a lot of rumors. Some thought it was a new kind of art, a living statue. Others believed that he was the guard of some hidden treasure at the train station. One day, a girl named Caitlyn came to the train station late at night. Caitlyn has always loved spending time at Avatar World train station after school. But this time, she was a little late and came to the train station almost at midnight. The train station was a meeting place for Caitlyn and her friends living in different parts of Avatar world. But lately, the station has become even more special because of one person I told you about earlier, because of Dustin. He attracted the attention of Caitlyn by the fact that his skin sparkled with a metallic luster, and he always froze in the most unexpected poses, like an eternal sculpture that comes to life only for a moment. Caitlyn decided to ask her friends if anyone had heard about Dustin's secret. Her friends thought that Caitlyn was just joking, because no one in Avatar world really knows his secret. It was already very dark outside, and the girls' friends began to go home. But Caitlyn decided to stay at the train station until the morning to find out Dustin's secret. She stood in front of him and stared at him intently to notice how he was moving. However, Dustin stood completely still, and after an hour of observation, Caitlyn decided to sit down not far from this mysterious character and continue watching him. As soon as Caitlyn sat down, she immediately felt that she wanted to sleep, but at the same time, she really wanted to see if Dustin would move from his place. And yet, a few minutes later, Caitlyn fell asleep and slept until the following morning. In the morning, she was woken up by a strange sound. It was as if someone had approached her and was standing beside her. It was Dustin. He saw that the girl had been sitting at the train station all night to see how he was moving and decided to tell her his secret anyway. When Caitlyn woke up, she was very happy. Caitlyn immediately asked Dustin why he was constantly staying motionless. Dustin said that he was an actor in a local theater, but he was kicked out of there. But he really liked to show his acting skills, and he decided to please and surprise all visitors to Avatar World. Caitlyn wanted to find out why his skin and clothes were metallic in color. She asked questions about it, and he replied that, in fact, his skin is not always this color. Before arriving at the train station, Dustin gets painted with special paint. Caitlyn wondered what she would look like if she were painted the same color. Then Dustin replied that he had a can of paint with him and he could paint Caitlyn. Caitlyn was very happy and agreed to paint, and now Caitlyn and Dustin have become the same color. Of course, Caitlyn, unlike Dustin, did not know how to freeze in different poses, but this did not prevent them from performing at the train station together. Since then, Caitlyn has become the only person in Avatar world who knows Dustin's secret, and now she has a very unusual friend with whom she was always happy to have fun. Well, now I'm going to tell you a story about a brand new character that you can meet in the school cafeteria. This is Rachel, and she and her husband work here as cooks. However, Grandma Rachel has one very mysterious secret. So earlier in her youth, she worked not as a cook, but as a professional basketball player. Yes, Rachel was really good at basketball. She played in the basketball team of her school for almost 10 years, and during that time she learned to play very well. While Rachel was playing basketball, her future husband Frank also had an unusual job. He was not a cook as he is now, but a rock star who performed at a concert in front of dozens of Avatar World residents. He was very good at playing guitar and was a very popular person in Avatar World. And so, both of these characters had nothing to do with the work of a cook. But how did it happen that they met and became cooks together? One day, Frank came to give a concert at the school where Rachel was playing basketball. He was supposed to perform right in the school cafeteria. At that moment, Rachel was sitting there after training. She had dreamt of going to Frank's concert all her life, but she couldn't do it because of frequent training. And so Rachel still managed to attend Frank's concert. After the concert, she decided to approach him to get an autograph. When Frank and Rachel saw each other, they realized they were in love. Since then, Frank and Rachel have often come to this dining room together to have lunch together. And so, a few months later, Frank and Rachel decided to get married. They held a wedding in nature, to which they invited a lot of guests. When Frank and Rachel got older, they decided they wanted to work together. However, there was a problem with that. Frank couldn't play basketball at all, and Rachel couldn't play rock guitar. They have been thinking for a long time where they can work together. And suddenly, Rachel came up with a brilliant idea. She offered Frank a job where they met. Frank immediately agreed and was very happy with the idea. Frank and Rachel got a job in the same school cafeteria where they met many years ago. They both studied for a long time how to cook properly, and over time they began to cook the most delicious food in this dining room. Frank and Rachel were very happy that they could delight school children with delicious food every day and at the same time work and be together all the time. The students loved the food they were cooking. For the sake of Rachel's spaghetti and Frank's soups, the children stood in a huge queue for them at every break, because everyone wanted to have time to try what their favorite chefs had prepared. Over time, Frank and Rachel began to work even better, thanks to the fact that Frank was constantly in the kitchen and cooked food, and Rachel put it on plates and served it to school children. After a few years of work, these great chefs began to be invited to work in larger establishments such as bakeries and pizzerias, because they began to cook the best food in Avatar World, but they constantly refused, because the school cafeteria for them is not just a workplace, but a whole history of getting to know each other. So, remember that in the very first story I said that Caitlyn came to the train station later than usual because she stayed at school a little longer. Now I'm going to tell you this secret story. Caitlyn came to school early in the morning because she really doesn't like to be late. She, as usual, sat down at her desk, and at that moment the lesson had already begun. On this day, Caitlyn had as many as 7 lessons. And so, at the very end of classes, Teacher Alice left the office a little earlier than usual to meet with the parents of the students. At this time, Caitlyn was so tired that she fell asleep. When the bell rang, all the students left the classroom, and no one noticed that Caitlyn fell asleep right on her desk. Caitlyn slept for a few more hours after the end of classes and only then woke up. When she woke up, she didn't immediately realize what had happened. She realized that she had slept all day at school when she looked out the window and it was dark as night. Caitlyn immediately ran to the exit, but it turned out to be closed. The girl was very confused because she realized that the door would be closed until tomorrow morning, until the students and teachers come to school. For a long time, she could not figure out how to get out of school and catch a meeting with friends at the train station, with whom she had agreed to meet this evening. So, Caitlyn decided to start screaming in the hope that someone would stay at school and hear her. But for a very long time, no one came to the rescue. The janitor also fell asleep, and all the teachers and students have long gone home. However, one character still stayed at school for the night. It was Frank, and he stayed at school overnight to prepare food for the next day in advance. Frank is the only one who heard Caitlyn's screams, and he immediately ran to find out what happened. When Frank reached the door, the girl explained to him through the door that she could not leave the office because it was closed. Frank knew where the keys to all the offices were, so he was quickly able to help Caitlyn get out of this office. And so, thanks to Frank, Caitlyn managed to get out of the office. She was very happy that she didn't have to spend the whole night at school. After she left the office, she immediately ran to the train station to catch a meeting with her friends. Her friends thought that Caitlyn would not come and had already started to leave, but in this time, Caitlyn burst through the door. Caitlyn, catching her breath, told an exciting story about how she miraculously managed to avoid getting stuck at school. Her friends could not believe the sequence of events that unfolded and listened attentively as she described her meeting with Frank, who came to her rescue. That's how Caitlyn managed to make it to a meeting with friends, despite the unusual nature of the story that happened.